I'm going to go ahead and record. So welcome, Alena. I am super happy that you are joining us today in the Creative Soul Society membership. We have a few of our members here that are able to make it today, and they are very excited to learn from you and be inspired by you. I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction, and then we can begin. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love your painting behind you. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So Alena, Beautiful Soul, is the author of Cultivating Your Creative Life, the Painting Workbook, Intuitive Painting Workshop, and beloved teacher of the art making process, both online and at select retreats. Her work has been featured in numerous magazines and publications. She uses a special Wabi-Sabi technique. Her paintings have been exhibited across the major cities in the US, along with several museum shows. Alena is also a flower essence practitioner, along with being a Reiki master and energy healer. Through a grace and intuitive guidepost, she calls the beautiful town of Asheville, North Carolina, her home. As a facilitator, her intention is that each participant leave a little more transformed, content, and open to wild possibility. Awesome. So Alena, your work is very much inspired by nature and beauty and spirit. And I thought you would be such a great fit for the Creative Soul Society, just to learn from you. And we like to talk about the chakras and the energy healing within that. And your work is very grounded. And I know that just your practice in itself, I want to be able to learn about how you have a consistent art practice and your techniques to keep yourself inspired and motivated. So we'll be able to ask you some questions, but I first wanted to start out with, just hearing your story about where you started and your journey to becoming such a successful artist.
Wow. Thank you for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. Where I started in the journey, where to begin and what to highlight. Well, I started quite young. Carl Jung said, whatever you'd spend your hours as a child, do that as an adult. That's one of your passions. So I would spend hours drawing. I went to art school. I unlearned after art school. I went to art therapy and art education graduate program. I graduated from that, but it really just came from life experience and the journey of life itself. And of course, education does help. But I tend to think that unlearning is just as important as learning, to find your own voice and your own path. And so what can I answer? Any questions anyone has about, because I've been doing it full time now since 2005. So there's a lot of different avenues I could share about, and I'm happy to answer anyone's questions and make it more helpful for them. Or
well, how about we start with the Wabi-Sabi technique? Maybe you could explain what that is and how's that inspired your practice of teaching it or putting that online.
It's just, I think it's from doing the practice of art itself and understanding the elemental aspect of creating and the power of alchemy in art, but also the power of water and other elements in art. And so it's about, and just in terms of taste. So it just came about because I really value the principles of Wabi-Sabi, which are asymmetry, perfection, and the beauty, the organic quality of art. So they aged wood is really valued, asymmetrical flower arranging, just all of that. I find it relieves this, it really supports the creative process because it relieves this pressure of it being a certain way or having a certain perfection. And in the imperfection, in that asymmetry, in the transitory nature of life, which everything is always changing, everything is being born and things are dying, in that process and in that organic quality of how roots look and how bark looks and how they crack pottery and they put gold in the cracks, and that is beautiful. So that really helps students flourish. It relieves that pressure of it being a certain way. And then there's certain techniques I teach in my painting process that gives way to that, to allow that creative spirit to be more playful, more curious, and allow the non-cliche and surprises to take place, which then allows authentic beauty to form from a place for that student where they feel more grounded and connected, less out of their analytical, judgmental head, more in their body and accepting all that is and where they are. So it just tended to work in both ways. It tended to work on the micro and macro level, the design level, and the spirit process of creating level. So that's, and also the Japanese aesthetic is beautiful. I mean, I really appreciate Zen painting, and less can be so much more too. So all of that.
Lisa had asked, where you actually went to art school? Where did you go?
For my undergraduate, I went to Florida State University. And then for my graduate studies, I went to Pacific Northwest College of Art and Portland State University. And for some art therapy studies, I also did that at Florida State as I was finishing up my art studio program.
That's awesome. I don't know if you remember or not, but did you work at Lemoyne Art Studio?
I love Lemoyne. Oh my gosh.
I think we were there at the same time because I used to teach there as well.
Really? I would have remembered you. So small.
It is so small, but the only reason I don't think we actually met, but we were in passing, is my friend Dorian knew you.
Oh, I love Dorian.
Yeah, so he knew you and he's like, hey, do you know this artist? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And when I looked you up, I was like, oh my gosh, I do know her. So it's kind of funny that we never met each other, but we were there at the same time.
That's so wild. Oh my gosh. No, yeah, Dorian was my art school buddy. That's so cool.
It's a small world.
Small world. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
So that was interesting. You were saying kind of unlearning everything that you learned in art school. I like that because I think there's all these rules. And there's also trauma in art school. I remember one really mean teacher I had, and they kind of stick with you and it stops you, right? So was there a certain way that you got unstuck, or how do you teach people to get out of those boundaries, those rules that we put on ourselves?
Well, I think centering techniques can really help that, and warm up creative techniques, releasing the ownership of art and releasing being a certain way, sharing, be more community based, and then also finding a place within that's untouched by all of these thoughts and ideas. And also education, learning structure and feeling safety in the structure, safety in learning elements and principles, and giving just prompts and having people play from there. So freedom within structure of certain painting lessons and art lessons. I find that students really need healthy boundaries too. It can't just be a free-for-all. So I think having all of that, the union of the opposites really works well with teaching.
I love that. Lisa asked, are you an art therapist as well?
Not certified. I almost went for that graduate program instead of my art education, but I did not. I took graduate studies in that, and I think all the other things I've done throughout life have really helped with art being just a healing modality, because I've done a lot of alternative studies and programs. So I've gotten to synthesize that, which is really wonderful with the art making.
That's beautiful. So could you tell us a little bit more about your practice as an artist? Are you someone that creates every day? I mean, do you have certain structure that you go by just to kind of nurture your creativity?
No, and I know certain artists do that and that works well for them. I'm not one of those people. Mm-hmm. For me, creativity is a way of life, and everything we're doing, we're either creating or we're stagnant. I have to, every day. I mean, I think I have cultivated body awareness and a lot of subconscious awareness and self-care awareness, so that if that day calls for, if I know if I get all the emailing and admin done, that's going to make me relax more into my creativity. So my creativity is something that goes in waves, and I ride that. But also I know inspiration is about showing up just to the studio. So I definitely am motivated by certain deadlines or certain things that I create for myself. but I've read and heard of artists doing completely different. So I think it's really about knowing yourself and knowing what works for you and being true to that.
I'm the same way. I think that if I put a deadline on something, it gets the fire going underneath me to like, I can do this versus just, free for all, like you were saying, like some structure and boundary around that
Yeah.
is really helpful. Do you ever have like dry periods when you aren't creating? And is that
Yeah, but it's usually because of life circumstance. It's not usually because I'm not, or I'm going through like a big transformation where something is going to be birthed. That happened to me before, like this earlier this year. I was doing a bit, or later last year, I was not able to create where I was at. I was in Mexico, and I was going through a big transformation. Some big life stuff had happened. And I just took a break. I just slowed it down. And then when I decided to start creating again, it's like a whole new thing opened up because I had taken that pause, and more came out through the input process that I was taking in over that month period. So that can be helpful too. Like just taking away certain things that you normally do, changing up your routine, and then allowing for new input or new inspiration, new colorways, new patterns, and all the elements coming in. And then you're like, wow. And it surprises you. And then a whole new series or something can be born from that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that sometimes we can beat ourselves up when we're not creating all the time, I guess because we're like seeing from like Instagram or any kind of social media where people are very busy. And you think that you always have to create. So it's kind of like honoring the ebb and the flow of when you are just taking in information. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was curious if you could, I know we talked a little bit about art therapy and you said that you kind of infused it into your practice and your teaching, which is amazing. Can you share of how you've used art as a way to heal yourself in some way?
I think that was never the intention or what I sought out, like this is going to heal me or I need this to heal. It was just something I did that brought about the effects of that dopamine and serotonin that art creates. I know it came naturally to me, and I know it doesn't come naturally to everyone else. I see what it does for other people. So I was more attracted to seeing the impacts it had on people I was working with because it was just something I always did. Mm-hmm. And I definitely feel like when we create connection and when we create a space for ourselves that takes time out from the distractions of life, then yeah, it's healing. And so I think there's many ways you can use creativity to heal. I mean, it's sort of infinite. I mean, it would be about the practice in that moment, I think, and reading the group on what that needs. But for me, like art is just something I've always done. I think the healing for me in my life, the own integration I've experienced has come through many different practices, and meditation and breath work and taking care of the body-mind connection is a huge part of that. Art is the reward. It's the expression of that place that provides the abundance from whatever we're feeling within.
So just energetically getting yourself aligned, whatever way that might be. Like you say, like you practice Reiki and some other things to help you get connected.
Yeah, I mean, I can't emphasize how just being aware of her breath and learning about all the different breath work and meditation, how life-changing that is. Mm-hmm. It's infinite. And then from that place, I just find the more that we're connected to something that's so deep within ourselves and so beyond ourselves, then other things, pathways open up because our consciousness is really opened up, and our subconscious, which drives so much of our life, that is like basically formed us by the time we're 7 years old completely, like the way we think, is more integrated and we're more aware of it. And so we're not driven by our subconscious, we're actually creating instead of subconsciously reacting or responding. So that sort of awareness will change diet practices, exercise practices, relationship choices, how we paint. It's all like from that money creating abundance is all from that inner sanctuary within coming out. So yeah, I mean, I think when I was younger, I did more like art therapy stuff, more writing, free writing, more like expressing from that more raw place. And that's really beautiful. I really, it really served its purpose at that. I remember like having to write a lot more in my journal but now it's sort of like art is to me is more like an honoring and what can I share and serve others, honoring of life and how can I be in service of others through that and how can I be in service of life for that. So I think art's so beautiful because it's like a mirror for each phase of where we're at in our development. It's always going to mirror that. And that's the beautiful thing about creativity is it really holds that mirror and that magnetism.
Most definitely. I love that. I love how art mirrors our life. And so when you were talking about breath work, is that one of your everyday practices for your
definitely meditation or breath work or absolutely, because even if it's just 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, 5 minutes, it just changes the quality of your day, and art can be that too. Painting can definitely be that too. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother topic.
Well, it's important. I think that these self-care practices are definitely they're infused with each other. And I like to meditate every day myself. And I know that when I don't, I'm off. I always feel like there's something up. So I love that you mentioned that because it really does ground you, it connects you with source. So I love that. Karen asks, before you sit down to paint, do you always meditate or do breath work beforehand? Does that like help you ground yourself? No, not necessarily.
No, definitely not. No, I'm usually at that point just excited to get started and record another lesson. But it's something that's great at the start of the day or the end of the day, I find. Yeah.
Awesome. So I have your deck and I use it all the time. It's so beautiful. It's the Mysteries of Love Oracle deck. And I just wanted to pick your brain about like the process of you created with your mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been really, really special. So I was wondering if you could just kind of share like your inspiration and how it went, the process of putting it out to the world, that type of thing.
Sure. I have really been into Oracle decks for a long time. My girlfriends and I, we circle up a lot, especially before COVID, and we pull cards, we do ritual, all that's been part of it. And so we would start pulling from these decks. I thought, oh my gosh, I should totally create some. There's the whole world. There's so many Oracle decks. I had studied tarot and done tarot for a while, kind of walked away from that, but then I discovered Oracle decks. So it was something I worked on for like over a year, like a year and a half. And I knew my mom's style would go really well with what I was envisioning and that we could collaborate. And so we created a Kickstarter, which was great. And now we're in our second printing and just had a really fun thing. Like Oprah just named it one of the most beautiful Oracle decks out there, Oprah Magazine, a writer for Oprah, not Oprah herself.
I'm gonna see it.
But yeah, so that was fun. So yeah, I really recommend people create something like that if they're inspired. It definitely is a big project, but it's so rewarding and it's a great way for passive income that just keeps happening because people collect them. You can find my deck on my website, alenahennessy.com. You can purchase it there. It's also on Etsy, but I prefer if you can to purchase it from us. And Etsy has given us a lot of sales for it too, which is great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know it's a big project, but they're really beautiful, and I love the gold.
Thank you. Yeah, the gold's fun, right? Little bling action.
I use them all the time. They're fun. I even do like art prompts from them. of like
Hmm.
picking a certain animal guide or picking like the flower essence and then create art from it. So it's been really useful. So I do appreciate that you created it.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Sharon says it's her favorite. That's because I told you about.
Oh, that's sweet.
I'm gonna just open it up to questions. Is that okay? So I just open it up to
Oh, yeah.
questions. Okay, I think Lisa has one. Where are you, Lisa? Let me see if I can spotlight you too. So you can ask a question. Go ahead.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh, I just have a couple of your books. I was wondering if you have any more of those, if you're working on it all.
No. Yeah, no. I've done a lot. I'm pretty much like I actually the last one I did on flowers, it's like, oh, she had to ask me again. I said no the first time. I was like, I need a break from all that. But I would like to do one later in life. I feel like it's great I had the opportunity to do them when I was younger, but I would like to have some wisdom and time to put into them if I do another one where there's a lot of time and wisdom of more life. So it has more of that cohesive quality of what you've gained from the whole experience of life rather than just this highlight of that year of what's happening for you creatively. So thank you for asking that, Lisa.
Oh, sure. And how many books do you have total? I'm just curious.
4. It's ridiculous. I don't know how it happened. Like, how did that happen? It's so bizarre.
We're birthing one every year.
Yeah, no. So the first one came about quite early in my career. That's part of it. It was like published in like 06 or something. So it just, it got on that track. But yeah, thank you for appreciating it.
Sure.
That's awesome. Who else would like to ask a question? Rebecca, let me spotlight you. Go ahead.
Hi. I'm just interested in your kind of the journey you had from sort of doing from college to training to do Reiki healing. How I assume you were kind of quite spiritual before within the kind of art making before. Then did you do the Reiki training afterwards?
It's a great question. So for many years, I did commercial art and I sold at trade shows and I sold to galleries and catalogs and licensing for Urban Outfitters. I worked with them like 4 or 5 times, if you all know that company, and Papyrus. And I was not spiritual with my work. I mean, I was behind the art. It was still me and my art, but it wasn't like I was doing work with other people. And then I went through a big life change, went through a divorce. I got married really young. And I was thinking, I don't know if this art career, because I was working very physically with the work. We were doing a lot of framing and printing and matting and wholesaling. I was like, I don't know if this is going to sustain me and this is really what my soul wants to do. I think I should go back to graduate school yet again and do like a counseling degree or something. And then the art world pulled me back and I got this amazing opportunity with my first book and this great studio space here in Asheville, a prominent space. I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to leave it. And during that time, I went to like a holistic healing arts program where I became a Reiki master. I studied flower essences, herbalism, Ayurveda, yoga, meditation. All in one with like several mentors. Yeah, very small, like very Asheville thing. Before Asheville was Asheville, kind of like it was more low key here. And it was just a really unique opportunity. The school isn't around anymore, but it was called the Shanti School. And there was like about 11 women and 3 women teachers. And so they taught us everything. And I didn't know how I was going to use it. I just know I wanted to study this. I didn't know how I was going to incorporate it with my art career. And then it slowly came together and I just started synthesizing it. And after the program was done, so that's how it happened. And that's how I am here now. And it makes sense now looking back. It makes so much sense that I was going to go on that path because I had the interest in meditation early on and just art therapy. And I just didn't have all this structure for it. And I didn't have the connection of the plant spirit world and the energy healing. So then I thought it was going to kind of keep it separate. So to bring it together was a gift, and realizing that you are the creator of your own career, and you can really create it exactly as you want it to, under your soul imprinting. And so that's how that came about. So I always encourage my students to listen to that and trust that. There are no rules with that.
Yeah. It's like lots of little jigsaws, isn't it? Pieces, and it's just sort of coming together.
Absolutely. And time has a way of doing that with intention and effort. So yeah. Mhm.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Karen Dawn asked, do I do live retreats? Yeah, I've done them, workshops and retreats all over. When the pandemic happened, I was in India finishing up a retreat, which was very intense. But then I went to Bali to do my last retreat, and that one got canceled. And I was actually in Bali for 2 months before I could get back home to the United States. So yeah, I've been doing those for a while, but not last year after that. Big break on that, which ironically was already planning on having a break. And now I'm just now starting to think about them for this upcoming winter.
Oh, cool. You're going to start doing them again.
Yeah, I have strawberry juice on my lip. I just noticed. This is so good, by the way, if you all ever, it's such a good, yeah, I'm just now starting to plan and think that. So that's pretty exciting. It's nice to have like time off and respite time to regroup and recenter and gather your energy back up.
Do you want to do them in North Carolina where you live, or do you like to travel and like go to other places just so that you can experience the world?
I've done a lot in North Carolina, here at my home, but I don't think I'm going to do them here. That's not what I'm getting. So it's all still in progress. I will share that later. If you sign up on my newsletter, you'll receive the information. It's just brewing, so I don't want to like share it too soon.
Rebecca says you have to come to the UK. Awesome. So do you have any words of wisdom that you could give the artists who are starting their journey and they're wanting to come out and share their gifts with you?
That's my puppy. He never barks. What is it? Oh, did you hear
words of
somebody?
wisdom?
Oh my gosh, come here. You'll see how cute he is. He never barks either.
Super cute.
I know, he's really cute actually. Words of wisdom. So what is the goal of the program? Like, what is everyone doing here, and what is this, an art therapy program, like an expressive arts healing?
It's not a program. It's just a membership. It's called the Creative Soul Society. There's about 40 members, and basically we come together, we do art making together. Some of them are more like art therapy groups, and then sometimes we do meetups where it's more business related. It's like, just showing up and like maybe being consistent with your brand or how to market yourself, things like that. So we're, it's a lot of people that are just kind of like starting out and sharing their gifts with the world. So it is like a group of artists who it is business oriented and healing arts oriented, both. It's like half art therapists and half artists.
Okay, cool. So it's building your business and all that.
Well, that's
one of the goals.
Yeah, that is one of the goals. It's more of like kind of like a mastermind of coming together and.
Got you. Okay, cool. So my advice on your career, or what was your question again, Leah?
Just artists who are getting started on their journey and sharing their gifts, because I know that it can be intimidating of putting your work out there and being consistent and things like that. So like you had mentioned that you're not always like painting every day, that it doesn't work for you. I mean, that's pretty much words of wisdom right there. So you don't have to put that pressure on yourself, but maybe anything else that is like coming out and sharing your work on social media.
Sharing your work is a really important piece, because I have found that, for instance, I have a friend, she just finished all this training. She's so good at what she does. She does somatic healing and attachment theory and style. And she's given me a few free sessions, and she's incredible. And she's building her website, and she's also working part-time, and she's stressed about money. And I said, well, have you been sharing on social media your new offering, because you're so loved, the community loves you? Oh, I have real fears around that. That's not natural to me. Well, I was just had a session with somebody, and when we embark on a new path, what we feel, it's not going to feel natural at first, like sharing or saying, this is what I do, especially if it's new, because it's a new way of being in a way that you haven't been before. And then it'll start to feel so natural. And so I know, for instance, with her example, and you could do this with art or anything, the more that she does share and makes it a more natural place, the more she's going to be so supported. And especially asking from that place, from that sincere, authentic place, like asking the universe, asking for the signs, asking other support, there's a real art to that. And so, for instance, as hers an example, I know if she I said once a week, that's it. I mean, for her, I would say more for artists, but just get out there and offer what you're doing and share what you're doing. Say, please share this with anyone you know. Like, I'm taking new clients, like word of mouth helps. Like, this is what I'm doing. Like, you could share some testimonials. Could share different pictures of your art. So it's, I guess what I'm saying is it's valuable to know that that's not going to feel natural at first. That is going to feel scary. That is going to feel vulnerable. And then it'll get to a point where it feels really natural and you're more detached to it. And at that point, you're probably something's momentum is building. So just kind of ride into that uncomfortableness and know that that is natural, that it feels unnatural, that you're creating a new pathway. And that new pathway is going to open up all sorts of worlds for you. And there will be a rhythm that you'll find in that, and to trust that it doesn't mean it's not right for you just because it is uncomfortable in the beginning.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. It says we have to get out of our comfort zone. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you said that just being able to let people know what your offering is and kind of ask people, ask people to share the offering to get those connections. I think that's important. Most definitely.
Yeah, because I know it's for her line of work, like there's she would be so booked up because people need that work so much. And it's just about putting it out there so people know it's there, know that it's available. And yeah, so all a matter of timing and being patient with that, but just keep showing up to receive.
Ooh, I like that. Being open.
So I have another question.
Yeah.
Did you write your books before you did your online retreats, or can you tell us more about your journey after you switched from, like the mall art, and then you went into more your art? Like when did you make the oracle cards? Was that after your books? I was just wondering, the timeline.
Sure. And I never did mall art. These are in West Village boutiques and galleries
or you're matting, what you were saying, you're framing and stuff.
Yeah, commercial art.
Yes. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was thinking of those pictures, inspiration. It's always there for you when you need it, kind of like the mountains and stuff. I think it was both a interweaving of I did the first book, and then it was okay, time to teach the online class, because I was doing in-person retreats and I was learning from my peers how great it was. So it was definitely an organic process, but I had a lot of experience teaching in person. And I really think having experience of learning actually how to create lessons and how to teach and how you're going to reach people through the different learning styles, and just learning about life is going to really help set up for a more successful online class. And so it was sort of like a back and very organic process of that. And was that your question? Which came first? And then then another book would come, and then another online class. And it just sort of the thing that's so cool about creating your own career is everything feeds off each other and everything supports one another when it's in that creative place. And so there's really no limit. And so I think just remembering that you have your own unique genius, Lisa, there is something that you came here that is part of one of your purposes. And that is a gift to other people, no matter what. And it's uncovering that genius, because we all have it, and we can have overlapping geniuses, but then we have something that's very uniquely us. And the more that we understand that and guide that and nurture that and cultivate that, the more that I find that life tends to reflect that back and support that. So yeah, and it could even be like learning about somatic therapy and applying that through art making. I mean, all that sort of thing. I just gave that example of somatic therapy.
Oh no, and that's interesting. I just went to a therapist and like that's what she wants to do. And I don't know what it is yet, but she talked about breath work because I tend to hold my breath all the time. And I only deep breathe like if I'm running, And so so it's interesting you're talking about that. Because I'm glad it's going to help me with my art, with my life, So it's all, I know like there's so many ways of healing. So yeah, it's interesting you brought it up.
Oh, awesome. Yay. The last thing I'll share about that, which is reminding me, is that I had a few like evolutionary, like this is gonna sound pretty woo, but this group is great for that, I hope.
Yeah.
Evolutionary astrologers talk about how you come in with your wisdom pieces. Like a really good astrologer will look at your chart from like a soul evolution perspective, and that there are certain things that just come natural to us. We're just good at, like, it's just like, we know, like, okay, like from one of my best friends, she is so good with children. I mean, my goodness, she's been an elementary school teacher forever and kids just love her. And she has like endless patience and just incredible about teaching children how to communicate their needs and empathy and working with parents with that. And she came in with that. But one of her struggles is her physical health and her pelvic region health and things like that. Like that she's always been like, okay, what's this? And I find that when we give offerings, that it's like we came in with something that we just really knew and we understood, that came natural to us, and then our wounds becoming our wisdom. And and integrating both of those. So it's like whatever we've struggled through in life and we've had to learn through that and grow through that. So the integration of those both creates a unique genius, very unique to your own soul. And then from that, the art, the offerings, and it can be very abstract too. It doesn't have to be this like literal thing, and it could be morphing too. But that is the polarity, the union of opposites that I was talking about. And Leo, you like that? Leo's like, I like that. So I found that in my own life, and I look at other people's lives. I think that's been very interesting and very helpful for me. And it also helps kind of make sense of life a little bit, like,
yeah,
that we're all here to grow, and there's stuff that we just know and we do well, and to cultivate both of that edge and that place of just who we are, what we've understood ourselves to be, at least.
Yes. Can I say another thing? Because
Sure.
You brought that up. You brought up astrology, and so I just knew my sign, and then I know there's the ascendant and then the moon, and then I heard of the Chiron, like that's the wound. So it's just interesting. Yes, we were born here with a purpose, but also like a wound. And I think I kind of let that wound stop my gifts or whatever, the other, that's kind of why I'm back in therapy, because I just think, but interesting, I just have to get over that. All right.
Totally. And we've all let that stop at times. I mean, that's just human experience, is that, the freeze, the flight response, all of that can fight response, like with anything that's traumatic in life, we've all experienced different levels of that. So it's totally natural. So it's like overcoming that, and the wisdom and the strength and what we learn through that overcomingness. And yeah, so you all get what I'm saying. It is that union.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Thank you, Alena, so much for this beautiful offering of being here with us and sharing your wisdom. We really appreciate it.
So glad you asked. And I was sick the other week when we had a cold, so it was really much better timing today. So I'm really happy to be here and see you, Leah. Leah, where in Florida are you?
I live in Miami.
What part of Miami? I think I've asked you that.
I live in Palmetto Bay, so it's a little further south than the beach. It's like half an hour away. It's not too far. But it's like, It's Miami. I mean, you could put Miami or Palmetto Bay on the address.
Totally. I used to live in Miami a long time ago, so that's why I asked.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it here because I just love the water and the palm trees. So
Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, so good to connect with you and see your group. And I wish everyone all the best.
thank you. I have it recorded, so I know there's a lot of other people that wanted to be here. So I'll definitely share it with them, and we'll keep in touch. So thank you very much. How can everyone get in touch with you? Your website, that's the best way?
Yeah, just my website. And yeah, you can see everything that's going on there. And thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your
Beautiful.
afternoon, your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.